Hello everybody. So we have already discussed about diffraction of light and we have discussed about the two types of diffraction, that is Fresnel diffraction and Fraunhofer diffraction. We have discussed that Fraunhofer diffraction at a single slit. We have obtained the conditions for minima and maxima, and we have obtained the expression for amplitude and intensity, and we have studied the intensity distribution by a single slit diffraction. Then we have discussed the width of central maxima. So next portion that we are going to discuss in this chapter is what is a diffraction grating. You might be at least heard of a diffraction grating. So I'll again introduce it to you. A diffraction grating is an arrangement of equal number of large number of parallel slits of equal width separated from one another by equal opaque spaces. Okay, actually the first scientist who studied about this diffraction grating was no one other than Joseph Fraunhofer, who first constructed the diffraction grating in 1821. Actually, he made it with 310 slits by stretching fine wires with the help of screws. But it was a very vague and old or rude method. After that, he succeeded in making a grating with a glass with a fine diamond point. And with the help of this, he found out the wavelength of the principal Fraunhofer lines of the solar spectrum. Rutherford also did experiments on this, and he tried to rule out lines on the metal with the help of a automatic dividing engine. And later on, it was the Wood, a scientist named Wood, who used the glass as a suitable substrate for constructing large gratings. And basically, diffraction grating is used. Generally, it is constructed with the help of a optically plane glass plate, and many lines are carved on this glass plate such that these lines are very fine and they are equidistant and they are parallel, and this is done automatically with the help of a dividing engine, and the material that is generally used to carve these lines is a diamond pointer, and these lines are very close that there will be at least 1,000 lines in a single centimeter. In 1 centimeter there will be 1,000 lines, and there are two types of gratings: transmission grating and reflection grating. The region where we put the lines will be opaque to the light, and they are known as opacities, and the other region which where there is no carving, where there is no lines drawn, will be transparent to the light and it acts as slit, and that region is called transparencies. And you can see here this act as what this act as the opaque region that doesn't transmit light. This is the region where the line is drawn, and again there is a region where which transmit light, transparency, and it acts as the slit, and again there will be a region where line is drawn, that will be opaque. And in through this region what happens, light is transmitted, and these types of gratings are transmission gratings. Okay, generally gratings are used in labs for determining the wavelength of light, and normally these gratings are very costly and we should handle it with care, and it is very difficult in constructing this grating. Normally what we use in the labs is the replica of the grating which is already prepared by pouring some colloidal solution on this grating, and it is made to harden, and thus the replica of the grating colloidal film is extracted from the original grating and it acts as the replica of the original grating. So hope you understood about grating. Grating means a single plain parallel plain glass sheet on which many lines are drawn with the help of a diamond pointer and a automatic dividing engine, and these lines are such that they are very parallel, they are very close together, and they should be having equal width. So these are the things that we'll have to keep in mind while discussing about the diffraction grating. And you can see the large picture of a diffraction grating in this slide. So next is the theory of diffraction grating, and we are going to discuss how we are going to obtain the condition for the principal maxima of the with the help of a diffraction grating. That's all that you have to study. No need of studying the intensity and amplitude and all. Suppose we assume a grating AB. This is the point A and this is the point B, and such that each of this such that the slit is having a width A and the opaque region is having the width B. The quantity A plus B. A is the region through which the light passes, that is, it is a transparency, and B is the ruled portion through which light doesn't transmit. It is opaque to light and it is opacity. And the addition of A plus B is known as the grating element. That means the two consecutive slits are separated by the distance A plus B, and you can see this is the region A and this region is B, and again this is A and this is B. Suppose I am having a slit 1 S1 named here, and at this point I am having a slit S2 named. So this is the schematic diagram of a grating element. The light, what happens is that the light that passes undeviated will reach the point O, where we get the central maximum. Okay. So a parallel beam of light of wavelength lambda is incidentally on the grating, such that according to the Huygens principle, what happens? The amplitude of the wave diffracted at the angle theta is given by, we have already studied this, each of the slit produces light of amplitude R is equal to Na0 sin alpha by alpha, that we have studied in the Fraunhofer diffraction due to a single slit. And this is the enlarged picture, and this is the slit S1, this is the slit S2, this region is A plus B, and each of this region is A plus B. Okay, so what is there? Most of the secondary wavelets proceeding from the slits will continue to travel in the direction of the incident light when it is focused by a convex lens. What happens is that when it is focused by a convex lens, most of them travels a distance so as to reach the point O. It reaches normally majority of the light reaching this lens here. What happens? It passes through the lens. Lens focuses this light ray at the point O, and at that point O we'll get the central maximum. Okay, normally that is happening, and the central maximum will be having a very bright color. And what happens next is that some of the rays or secondary wavelets that are diffracted at an angle theta. Okay, suppose there are some waves that are diffracted at an angle theta, and suppose we assume that they meet at the point P. Okay, so to get the superposition pattern at the point P, we have to get the path difference. And seeing this figure, it is understood that all this distance traveled will be almost same except for the path difference. It is enlarged here, and this is the difference in the path length. This makes the difference in the path length of the two consecutive rays emanating from two consecutive points, or from S1 and S2. And this is suppose we are drawing a perpendicular from S1 to meet the point K at the line S2K. You will get a triangle here. I'll name one of the vertices as S1, one as K and other as S2. And this is a perpendicular, means S1, S2 will be the hypotenuse. So normally what will be sine theta? Sine of this angle theta is opposite side. That is S2K by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is what? A plus B. S1, S2 is the hypotenuse. That is the A plus B. So what you will get? S2K will be what? From this triangle S1, S2K, S2K will be A plus B sine theta. So this is the path difference between the two consecutive points from which the wavelets are diffracted at an angle theta and meeting at the point P. Then the corresponding phase difference that we have already noted 2 pi by lambda into delta, that will be 2 pi by lambda into A plus B sine theta. Okay, and now we assume that if A plus B sine theta is equal to n lambda, and you can put n is equal to 1, 2, 3. What happens is that these waves at following satisfying this condition, what happens? Superpose at this point P, giving a principal maxima at an angle theta. And if I am varying n for 1, 2, 3, etc., what happens? The angle of diffraction, what happens is that n is varied. The angle of diffraction corresponding to the principal maxima, different orders can be obtained. Okay, from n is varied, n is 1 means we will get first order, n is 2 means you will get second order, n is 3 means you will get third order, and it goes like that way. And what happens is that on either side of the central maxima, which is obtained at the point O, diffraction principal maxima of different orders can be obtained symmetrically. That means I can put plus or minus. Down means it is minus. Up of the central maxima means it is plus. So we have the equation A plus B sine theta is equal to plus or minus n lambda. From this itself it is understood that theta is different for different lambda. Okay, and if a white light is having many colors, what happens? White light is used as the source. Normally you will get a central maxima at the center, which is followed by a VIBGYOR of first order. Then there will be a VIBGYOR of second order on either side. So orders means first order will be having a group of colors corresponding to various thetas and lambdas if we are using a composite light. And if you are using a monochromatic light means it will be having a single wavelength. Then you will get a central maxima. Then you will get a first primary maximum, principal maximum, then second principal maximum corresponding to second order, third order, like that way. And if there are n lines in 1 meter of the grating, then I can write n into A plus B is 1. And substituting instead of A plus B 1 by n, what I will get? Sine theta is equal to plus or minus n lambda, where small n is the order of the spectrum, n is the number of lines in 1 meter of the grating, lambda is the wavelength of light used, theta is the angle of diffraction. And this equation is very important, and this equation is known as the grating law. And you can see the first principal central maxima, principal maxima and minima and all. Okay, if I am using a white light means composite light, what happens? There will be a central maxima followed by a VIBGYOR of first order, second order. Similarly, on either side you will get what? VIBGYOR of first order, second order. Okay, this is the central maxima, and this is the first order having almost from violet to red. There will be another second order from violet to red. It will be there. And similarly on the next side also you will be having the first order and second order. If I am using a monochromatic light, this will be the spectrums. Central maxima, principal maxima of first order, second order on either side. Okay, this is very important. This give a depiction of the results that we are going to get using white light and using monochromatic light with the help of a diffraction grating. So I have mentioned right in the beginning that diffraction grating is used to determine the wavelength of the light, and the experimental arrangement done is the spectrometer. And this is an experiment that you are going to do in your second year physics lab. That is how you are going to determine the wavelength of light using a grating. So what we have to do first is that this is the source of light, and there will be small opening in this instrument, and this instrument is a spectrometer, and there will be a small opening, and this opening acts as a slit, and there is this part, and this part is called the collimator, and this collimator is used to make all the rays parallel. And normally we will have to hold our optical element here. It could be a prism or a diffraction grating or any of this sort. there will be a table for holding our optical element here, and here there will be a telescope, and telescope can move in a 360-degree scale at any position. Okay, telescope can move at any position, and there will be a vernier scale at two of this diametrically opposite portions. There will be a scale here, and opposite to this there will be another scale here to take the measurements. So what you have to do first is, telescope will be having normally an eyepiece and an objective. We'll have to adjust the telescope so as to keep it fit for receiving rays from infinity. So we'll have to focus a distant object and try to get a clear image. Then we have to adjust this screw to get the the width of the slit can be adjusted with this screw. Then what you have to do first is, we'll have to for determining the wavelength of the light using a diffraction grating, we should do the experiment, that is, set the experiment in the normal incidence position. That is, we'll have to keep the grating is placed on this table, and this table is generally the vernier table and the grating table, and grating should be placed in a position so that light from this slit passes through the collimator and hit the grating at 90°. We can place it almost at the 90° position, or to get the correct normal incidence position or 90° position, we'll have to do some arrangements. Okay, first what you have to do? First we have to keep the collimator, adjust the width of the slit, and bring this telescope in this position. Okay, first we have to do it like this way. Here there will be a source of light, here there will be collimator, this is the telescope, and our grating is placed here. And first what we have to do? We shouldn't place the grating. First, without grating, you check whether you can see the slit. Then what you have to do? This telescope is just then this is the vernier table, and this vernier table can be rotated. There are two vernier scales here at this opposite end. Normally this is 360-degree table. That means the difference in the reading between these two tables will be 180°. So I can adjust this table so that this vernier reads 0° and this vernier reads 180°. Okay, they will be having normally 180° difference. For the sake of easiness, I can make this, adjust this vernier table so that this vernier reading reads 0° and this vernier reads 180°. And this vernier is kept clamped in the tight position. Now what I have to do is, I have to move this telescope through a direction 45°. Okay, in a telescope is rotated through 45°, either in this direction or in this direction. So telescope's position will be here, and the telescope is clamped at this position and it is made tight. Now grating is mounted on the grating table. Grating table grating mount ചെയ്യുക. എന്നിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുക? ആ grating table മെല്ലെ തിരിക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റി? Light passes through the slit and collimator, reaches the grating table. It reaches the grating, and the light gets reflected from the grating so as to reach the telescope, so that you can see the slit through the telescope, which is placed in this position. It is moved 45° so as to reach this position. So what happens? Light on hitting the grating gets reflected so that I can see the image of the slit. For that, I'll have to tilt the position. So light has to fall here. If I'm just tilting it slightly to this position, it gets, you can adjust it. You just keep the telescope here at 45° and adjust the position of this grating so that you can see the light reflected image of the reflected slit from the grating. Now what you have to do next is, you will have to rotate the vernier table through 45°. Normally what happens is that at this position, light incident at 45° on the grating, and the grating is mounted on the vernier table. And if you are rotating the vernier table, grating will be rotated through 45° such that light falls at an angle 90° on the grating element. Okay, so what happens? The light falls at a 90 degree exactly. If these arrangements are not made, you can just simply place such that you can understand easily what is the 90 degree position, what is the normal incidence position. Now what you have to do is you can just see that move the telescope. At this position you can see the central maxima. If you are moving the telescope towards this side, you will get the primary maxima for the first order, second order, and if you are moving the telescope in this position, you will similarly get the primary maxima of second order, first order and second order on either side. Okay, so hope you understood about the experiment, and this is the grating equation. A plus b sin theta is equal to plus or minus n lambda, or sin theta is equal to plus or minus n lambda, which is the grating law. So go through this. This is the experimental arrangement. You can go through. I have given the description in the slide how you're going to set the normal incidence position and the procedure, then how you're going to do it in the lab. No need of these columns and all. For the sake of your understanding, I have put it. Okay, so two more portions are to be discussed in this chapter, that is resolving power. So what is the resolving power of an instrument? So when two objects or images are very close to each other, what happens? They almost appear as one. And it is not possible for us to identify them as separate. They are very thus to see close objects just as separate. To identify the two close objects as separate is called basically the resolution. To identify two close objects as separate. And what is the limit of resolution? The smallest distance between two close objects such that you can see them as separate is called the limit of resolution. For I, the limit of resolution is 1 minute, and always we'll identify or we'll just grade the optical instrument on the basis of their resolving power. That is the ability of an optical instrument to produce two separate distinct images of two objects that are placed very close to each other is called the resolving power of that optical instrument, and you have studied these definitions and all in your +2 classes. And there is a criterion that is it was put forward by Rayleigh, a British physicist, who put forward a criteria to manifest the limit of resolution of two objects that are very close to each other. Two images are said to be well resolved if they are in this position, or the waves showing up these images is such that they are not much overlapping, there is a gap, and they are said to be just resolved, and still there is a gap in the superposed waves. And what happens? It is non-resolved. You cannot identify the two objects or two images, or the wave functions representing them are very close to each other. So we are discussing the resolving power of a diffraction grating. That is, what is the equation for the resolving power of a diffraction grating. So as we have discussed before, resolving power of a grating is the ability to separate the spectral lines which are very close to each other. When two spectral lines in the spectrum produced by the diffraction grating are just resolved, then in this position the ratio of the wavelength difference and the mean wavelength of the spectral line is called the resolution limit of the diffraction grating. Okay, so the resolving power of a diffraction grating is represented by the equation, that is the mean wavelength of the spectral line divided by the wavelength difference. So Rp is lambda by d lambda. Okay, so let us check what will be the resolving power of a diffraction grating. Okay, let parallel beams of light of wavelength lambda and lambda plus delta lambda is incidenting normally on a diffraction grating. Here there is a grating and the wavelengths lambda and lambda plus delta lambda is hitting the grating in a normal incidence position or at 90 degree. And what happens is that here some sort of spectrum is generated, and you can see that okay, and it is said that if the nth principal maximum of the light of wavelength lambda and lambda plus d lambda are formed in the direction, that is the angle of diffraction for lambda is theta n, and angle of diffraction for lambda plus d lambda is theta plus d theta n respectively. Angle of diffraction for lambda theta n, for lambda plus d lambda theta plus d theta n. For the principal maximum, and we generally know the expression for the principal maximum, it is simply a plus b sin theta is equal to n lambda for the wavelength lambda. Okay, and what happens is that if the wavelength is changed a bit by d lambda, when there is a change in diffraction angle by d theta, the equation becomes what? A plus b instead of theta n, what you'll get? For the nth principal maxima, theta plus d theta n, and instead of lambda, it will be lambda plus d lambda. The equation 1 get modified to equation 2. And what happens next is that you can see at the point P, you will have a principal maxima. At the same point P will be having the minima of the adjacent maxima. Right. Principal maxima at this point P, but here also you can see the minima of the adjacent maxima. So normally you can say that at this point P itself, what you can get? A plus b sin theta plus d theta n. Okay, this is the condition for minima, and here it will be what? N lambda plus lambda by n. And what happens is that lambda by n is the additional path difference introduced for the minima at the point P. And a plus b sin theta is equal to n lambda is the condition for maxima. And for the condition of minima, what happens? That is, at the point Q also you can see there will be a maxima. At the same time there will be a minima coinciding at the maxima. So I can write the condition of minima as a plus b sin theta plus d theta n plus n lambda plus lambda by n. And this lambda by n is the additional path difference introduced. So what happens is that on comparing this equation 2 and 3, what you will get? LHS is the same, and the change in RHS is what? I can compare the RHS. N lambda plus d lambda is what? N lambda plus lambda by n. So n lambda is again common both. Here also n lambda, here also n lambda. I can cut it off. And what is left is n d lambda is equal to lambda by n. We already discussed that equation for resolving power is lambda by d lambda. So from this equation I can write lambda by d lambda is what? Is n into n. N is the, small n is the order of the spectrum, and capital N is the number of lines per unit length of the grating. Small n is the order and capital N is the number of line per unit length of the grating. And this is the expression for the resolving power of a diffraction grating. So just you have to keep in mind resolving power is lambda by d lambda, and that is equal to n into n, and try to study the derivation. So resolving power lambda by d lambda, which is equal to small n into capital N. So next is dispersive power of a grating. So dispersive power of a grating is defined as the ratio of the difference in the angle of diffraction of any two neighboring spectral lines to the difference in the wavelength between any two the same spectral lines. That is, simply I can write the dispersive power as by this equation d theta by d lambda. D theta by d lambda is the dispersive power. So it is the capacity to disperse the light. This is the capacity of an optical element or optical instrument to disperse the light is basically the dispersive power, and it is expressed by d theta by d lambda. So you'll check out how you're going to get the dispersive power of a grating, the equation for dispersive power. Normally the grating law is a plus b sin theta is equal to n lambda. And if I am differentiating it, what I'll get? Sin theta, differential of sin theta is cos theta d theta. Theta is changing, lambda is changing. So differential of lambda is d lambda. So from this I can calculate d theta by d lambda. It is what? N by a plus b cos theta. So d theta by d lambda is, I am just naming a plus b is what? 1 by n. So instead of a plus b, if I am writing 1 by n, what I'll get? N by cos theta. D theta by d lambda is the dispersive power. Small n is the order of the spectrum. And this n prime is the number of lines per centimeter of the grating. Theta is the angle of diffraction for the nth order principal maxima. Okay, so we have discussed the resolving power and dispersive power of a grating. We have discussed the grating equation and how you're going to determine the wavelength of light using grating. So hope you have understood about diffraction, Fraunhofer diffraction at a single slit, grating, planes transmission grating, the grating equation, resolving power and dispersive power of a grating. This is all. This is the conclusion of your chapter on diffraction, and I'll give you some problems. You submit it as assignment. Then we'll have, if any doubts, you can come to me personally and ask, or you can discuss it in the group. And still the doubt is there, you can come to me personally, and we'll have a online exam on this chapter. Okay, you go through this chapter. We can have the discussion in the online platform. Okay, so thank you.